Hello everyone, I am Lebu Madubanya and welcome to the Career Launch Network South Africa podcast. Now, if you've ever felt like you're working hard, but you're not really sure if you're focusing on the right things to actually get you hired, well, this is for you. This podcast is really all about equipping you with the exact skills and inside information you need to thrive in specific industries. Today, we're diving into Old Mutual, one of South Africa's oldest and most established financial service providers. Founded back in Cape Town in 1845, they've grown from a small mutual insurance company into a pan-African giant, offering everything from life insurance and asset management to banking and investment services. So for a young graduate, fresh out of varsity or high school with ambition to break into the financial sector, navigating that path to becoming an actuary can really feel daunting. Now we'll be breaking down the specific steps you can take to enter the world of actuarial science and financial services at this prestigious institution. Now we're covering the full spectrum from securing a bursary, funding your studies, to landing your very first job through the graduate program. Stick it out with us right here on our podcast.
So what I love about our bursary program is that we hire in high school.
I love that.
So we attended actually the class of 2025 matriculant results announcement because we partner with them. We headhunt and we find talent in high school. So we have a bursary program which one of our MDs, Prabashni Mudli, was a recipient.
You need to start applying yourself. See, it's not just about reading stuff on LinkedIn or reading stuff on the internet. Look at your day-to-day life. So you go to a retail store to buy groceries, but you're still able to transfer money. That's financial services.
So the opportunities are absolutely there. They are endless, and it is possible for anyone to pivot from whatever career stream into Old Mutual.
I studied marketing. I didn't know I'd end up in financial services. My first job was actually as an investment consultant.
At Old Mutual Insure, we are actually about to launch our first ever actuarial bursary program.
Really? To kick things off, I'd like our guests to introduce themselves to us and tell us the specific roles they play at the Old Mutual Group. Let's start with yourself.
Dumela. My name is Mufota Sefadi. I'm the practice lead for early careers and graduate development within Group Human Capital.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Azania. I am the Learning and Development Manager within Old Mutual Corporate, responsible for curating development experiences for the Old Mutual employees.
Thanks for having us, Level. My name is Chero Subabu, and I work for Old Mutual Insure, which is the short-term arm of Old Mutual Group, and I'm the Senior Talent Acquisition Specialist for actuarial.
All right, let's break it down a little bit. In the introduction, I talked about the fact that we'll be equipping a lot of people that are watching now, whether you're a graduate, you're fresh out of high school, or you want to pivot with information on how to upskill themselves and how to better themselves and place themselves in a better position to be hired. So what is it within the financial sector, financial service providers, that does not necessarily ring a bell to everybody else that is perhaps younger? At first, they're thinking medicine, teacher, police. Just explain to me, when we talk about the financial providers, service providers, what are we talking about?
So maybe let me just start with, why do people default into the traditional career paths, right?
Yes.
So I think it's really what we grew up with, and it's a lack of knowledge. But I think most importantly is, and I say, I had the privilege of having a career guidance counselor in high school. So this is someone who look at what subjects am I good at? What career paths are available at tertiary institutions. It doesn't necessarily have to be university. It could be a technicon, it could be a technical college, and then matching those skills. So it's really just knowing the kid, right? So having those people is so instrumental. Parents can do this as well. So we call it talent acquisition because you are talent and you have to understand your own talent first. So my advice would always be to read Ikigai. Ikigai talks about purpose. It's the Japanese concept of purpose. Yes. And in purpose, we talk about what are the things that you're good at, right? What are the things you love doing? what does the world need? Because that's relevant, right?
Yes.
And what can you get paid for? So that's the whole concept of ikigai. So once you understand your own ikigai, you look at your own subjects and say, okay, even though Mangwani Tabiso, is a chartered accountant,
Yes.
or Malume Spani is a medical doctor, I'm really not feeling that. I think I'm supposed to be this.
Yeah.
So it's really about the kid now looking inside and saying, what is it that I enjoy and what is it that I can do?
All right. It's interesting that you touched on high school, and you are within Old Mutual, but actuary department or sector, so to speak. How would one get into where you are? Where would it have started from a high school perspective to a varsity level as well?
And I'm assuming you're talking about the work that I actually do in talent acquisition. So, look, one can pretty much study anything. And I think that's the interesting thing about how recruitment has evolved, because you can have someone who studied, who became a chartered accountant, end up in the psychological space or even academia. In my case, I was honestly working as a secretary in an engineering firm. Recruiters used to call a lot. I was meant to be a gatekeeper, but I guess I was too friendly. And the one day lady called and she said, you've always been so friendly, and I've made quite a few placements. I've helped you guys appoint a few people.
Yeah.
We are actually looking. Would you be interested? Because you sound quite nice on the phone.
Wow.
Coincidentally, I had just completed my short learning diploma in HR. I had no idea what recruitment was. And I submitted my CV, and 17 years later, here I am.
But you're also in a very difficult space. Actuary, when we talk about actuary back in my time in high school, you needed to be an A plus student. But to get there in this day and age, how difficult or easy is it? How are the opportunities out there for the learners, the students, the graduates?
To be quite honest, there are a lot of opportunities, because it's a skill-short market. We are still looking for more and more young people to consider the field of actuarial science. I remember when I was in high school, I didn't even know about actuarial science. And that's obviously a long time ago. I mean, I finished matric in 2002. But now there's this access.
You and me both.
Yeah, yeah. So now there's access to a lot of information. Mofota touched on career guidance counselors and, the person that holds your hand, not just in university, but even before university. But it's not easy getting into actuarial science. It's not easy for me as a talent acquisition partner having to work with actuaries, because if you really look at what I do, my job is to build careers for actuarial professionals.
Sure.
And there's obviously a lot of demand in the market, so we are all kind of fishing from the same pond, so to speak. So yeah, it's quite difficult to get in. There are difficult exams. The degree in itself is very difficult.
Yeah.
The attrition rates for first and second year are still quite high, because, I mean, you walk in with your 7 distinctions from matric. We saw you on TV. Ministers were celebrating you. We're all celebrating you. Then you get to varsity and you're like, whoa.
What is this?
Maybe not. And that's why the attrition rates are so high. So when people actually do qualify as actuaries, not just in South Africa, but globally, it's a big deal.
Okay, Azania, then you have to come in here, because you're from the learning and development, you're a learning and development manager. We're talking about critical skills. So currently, what is in short supply across Old Mutual's banking, investment and insurance divisions?
And I think, thanks for the question. I think it's a great question. But I think when you look at the critical skills, it extends beyond the technical skills nowadays. Yes, we still do need those data scientists, cloud engineers, actuaries, because the world goes around without, the world needs them, because we need them to be able to help us solve the problems for the clients. But I think extending beyond that is really things like empathy. Empathy is coming through as such an important critical skills, call it power skills or soft skill, if you will. So empathy is one of the things, but also your effective communication. And effective communication is very much layered. It's your ability to listen attentively to the needs of your clients in order for you to solution accordingly, so that they can go forth and contribute to the economic growth of this country that we are in, and beyond the country, because we do operate beyond the borders of South Africa. So effective communication is one thing. Empathy is another. The ability to be able to tell a story. Storytelling in a way that is coherent to not only whatever it is that we're trying to achieve as a business, but aligning it to, again, those needs of the clients. So very, very important.
You want to add in there, Mafuta? I heard you saying, in terms of the critical skills that are still in need within the Old Mutual Group?
100%. I think in terms of skills, what we are also learning is that you need to be able to continually learn. So unlearning is one of the toughest skills to learn, because, the world is evolving at such a fast pace that, they say, qualifications expire every 5 years. So you need to be able to constantly be reinventing yourself. So when he talks about empathy and all those skills that are called soft skills, I call them power skills. But those are the skills that are needed. So I would add in there, relearning, unlearning.
What are the top 5 growing roles within the Old Mutual at the moment?
I would say we're definitely in the STEM skills. So we have to remember that Old Mutual is a premium financial services company, right? So what do we need to make a profit? So we're not there to necessarily have fun. But so Tseho talked about the critical and scarce skill that is in actuarial science. So as a company, you need to be able to take your money, invest it, and project and see how much it's going to make and things like that, right? So that's a critical skill. So I think what we're also looking at now is STEM skills. Artificial intelligence is wrecking, really just the world. But let's also remember that our target audience is Gen Z, and they are digital natives. So we need to ensure that they have jobs that they can actually do using the inherent skills that they have. So that's what's coming up for us. So is that 2, 3 level?
5,
Is that 5?
Yeah.
But I think, leadership is one thing that we probably don't talk about the most. But to be able to lead people, there's a subject matter expert, and then there's a leader, someone who can deliver through other people. So those are the kind of skills that we are looking at. And also, I would probably add, what else have I left out?
If I might add, I think when you look at, she spoke about our clients do entrust us with their money to be able to invest it, to be able to invest it. So definitely like investment analysts, those are the roles that we do see growing in our organization.
Okay, well, I need to jump in there because now if someone is watching this for the first time, the first thing they're thinking is, how do I prepare myself to be able to be in a place where I can apply to be an investment analyst for Old Mutual. Maybe speak to someone that's also coming out of high school, one that's still choosing their subjects, one that's already in varsity.
So as I was saying, so investment analyst is definitely one. And I'll cover your point right now, Leo, because I do think that it's very important. So investment analyst, and we also do see the ESG. So ESG is really just around the environmental, social impact or social and governance impact in terms of how responsible are we as an organization in the way that not only do we handle the client's money, but the way in which we do business, the way in which we conduct business. So those skills are those roles are definitely growing in our space. We also do see, and Mafuta did cover around the AI and the big data, big data roles that we see growing. Some of the other roles that we see growing is operational resilience. I think as an organization, we are a highly regulated environment, and therefore we need to be operationally resilient. What does that mean in terms of disasters? How are we able to pivot to still continue deliver on the promises that we made to our clients? And coming back to your question around someone who might be in high school and thinking about, oh my gosh, which subject should I consider to potentially become an investment analyst, I think core there is definitely languages, and I will put English first as a core. And why do I put English first? Because I think communication, as I've highlighted, is becoming such an important skill. So your ability to communicate both verbally and in a spoken language, but be able to articulate yourself well and understanding those client needs and responding to them effectively will continue to become important. So at the core, language, which is it's very important. I mean, everyone has to do languages. And then when you look at some of the modules or subjects that could be advantageous to them is really things like mathematics. Mathematics is very important. Your ability to problem solve comes from your ability to work with numbers and those and solve problems through maths. And another thing that I might add there is, or another two modules that I could add there is definitely accounting. Accounting gives you an opportunity to really understand the financials. And therefore, when you are coming into our space and wanting to become an investment analyst, and understanding financials becomes a paramount skill that you need to have in order for you to not only assess the client's financial situation right now, but be able to project what solutions could their monies yield for them, or what benefits could their monies yield for them into the future. Business management is very important. I think it's important to understand the business that we are operating in and really understanding the strategies therein as well. So those are the subjects that I would advise someone in high school to consider choosing should they want to pursue a career in the financial services sector.
Just interested, why do we not hear a lot about I want to get into the financial sector?
I think there might be a bit of a misconception around what financial services actually is.
Yes.
So you're a 15-year-old, maybe even an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
So all you know is healthcare, the hospitality industry, because that's pretty much what you're exposed to, right? Property, etc. But no one really helps you apply your mind to what financial services is. When I started working, we thought financial services was limited to just the banks. So the big four, now it's the big five banks, and now we're getting some of these smaller banks come up, like your Discovery, Old Mutual now has a bank. Yay, us. But I always, whenever I speak to young people, I always tell them, you need to start applying yourself. See, it's not just about reading stuff on LinkedIn or reading stuff on the internet. Look at your day-to-day life. So you go to a retail store to buy groceries, but you're still able to transfer money. That's financial services. You go to, help me with examples. You go to another retail store and you're able to get a loan, and you can actually do that through your phone. You use a specific cell phone network, you're still able to do an airtime advance. All of that is financial services. So I try to help young people think broader than that. There are these cat videos that appear on TikTok. Don't ask me why I watch them, but I always tell young people, cat? Yeah, cat videos,
like meow cat.
Yeah, like that's actually the sound that they make. And there's an entire story around it. We'll talk about it. But I always tell young people, AI has taken over. You know, they're able to take my face and then put it on someone else's body. They did it with our president, and there he was dancing like a 5-year-old baby. All of that is AI. All of that is big data. That's where the world is going, and those are the opportunities that they need to start seeing. So think broader. My colleagues touched on the softer skills. When I started in this industry, I thought actuaries are nerds. All they do is look at numbers. They don't have a personality. But and I'll touch on that. And I'll touch on that. But you actually chill with actuaries, and you're like, hey, they have the most lit parties. Yay, I want to be there.
Because they're stressed all the time.
Absolutely. So they play hard and they work, just as hard. So the softer skills are very important. I work with actuaries from early careers as a grad who's just leaving varsity to someone who's at chief actuary level. And what you find is that whenever they're bringing solutions to us as an employer, they're always thinking of the customer. So it's not just about the company making profits. Let us think about the customer. So I'm going to try and explain what an actuary does to a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay, my daughter's 18. So let's try and explain it to her.
Yes.
Okay, she listens to me, so maybe not her. Anyway, so actuaries are people who are highly trained and skilled in using mathematical and statistical models. Yeah. So they understand maths and stats, and they're able to apply it to build models to address risks for a company and for a consumer. So in KZN, we had floods, for example. Yes. An actuary in our environment would sit there and say, okay, if Cheho wants household insurance, but her house is built on a hill in KZN that has been prone to floods, in an area that has been prone to floods, this is how we need to model what she will pay as a premium every single month. That's what an actuary does. So the constantly thinking of solutions. On the life side, I know when I first started working, we didn't have a product that would ensure that if I cannot work or I cannot speak or I can't think for myself, then it pays me a monthly salary so that my kids can still survive.
Is that the income protector?
Yes. So actuaries are the guys who would sit with all the other stakeholders and say, okay, the world is changing. What happens if someone has an accident, they're still alive, they can eat, they can do everything, but they cannot think for themselves anymore? What happens to the people that depend on them for money? So let's build a product that speaks to that. So ultimately, it translates back to the customer. It's empathy, it's understanding how the world works. And that doesn't start when you qualify as an actuary. It starts when you're 15 years old, looking at the cell phone that you have.
Yeah.
An actuary would have been involved in that. Someone has to assess the risk of a product. Someone has to ensure that a company is profitable. We don't need to overcomplicate it.
Yeah. I think you've painted such a great picture on what an actuary, what they are, what they do. But I also want to dive into the opportunities that are there now for someone that's sitting at home at the moment. They're probably thinking, yes, guys, but do you guys have learnership programs? Do you have bursaries? Mafuta, if you can just touch on that from I know you are within the group sector of the business. Yeah.
So what I love about our bursary program is that I say we hire in high school.
I love that.
So we attended actually the class of 2025 matric results announcement because we partner with them. We headhunt and we find talent in high school. So we have a bursary program, which one of our MDs, Prabashni Mudli, was a recipient. So we fund actuarial science and we fund other critical and scarce skills as defined by the organization. We take our students through school. It's not just financial support. It's not just paying for your tuition and your accommodation and your laptop and things like that. We actually have an entire psychosocial support structure because what we found is we take a child from Venda who's never been anywhere near any other province, and we place them in Cape Town next to that mountain and ocean. It's overwhelming. The life in itself almost takes over. So we really look into the lives of our students and we're so involved and we build relationships with them. So we have an industrial psychologist on the team and she does the psychosocial support. So tell me, how is it feeling in Cape Town? I feel overwhelmed. I feel like nobody knows me. Nobody speaks the same language as me. And we help them get through school. In all those touch points, we also, we don't want we call them on-campus mutualites because we're mutualites. So our on-campus mutualites, we never want them to feel brand new when they get into the organization. So what we then do is we start doing culture work with them, getting them to understand the organization. We actually have job shadowing for them. We have VAC work. So they come in for a week during, June holidays, and they meet the people that they're going to actually work with. So you'll see a lot of them are taking pictures, posting them on LinkedIn saying, hey, we met Aza, we met Tseho, we met Prabashni.
And not only actuaries, right?
It's not only actuaries. It's everybody who's on that bursary program. Right? And the minute they graduate, which is what we did last month, is they give us their results and they start work next month. So it's a guaranteed job into the organization, and we start that talent attraction and selection in high school. We look at grade 10, 11, and 12 marks.
All right, important information. The grade 12 students of 2026, where do they get that? Is it easily accessible on your website?
You can literally Google Old Mutual bursaries. You're going to land on that page, and it will tell you what type of bursaries we have and when you can apply. We should be opening next month.
Yeah.
And we will close in April.
Absolutely love that. Now, for those that are post, they've been to school, they've studied, they've got their degrees. Are there opportunities in your sector?
Yeah, absolutely. So three things. This job shadowing, which is a trending topic now. And I'll couple that with VAC work and obviously the bursary element.
VAC work, vacation?
Vacation work,
okay.
yeah. Sorry, we use a lot of abbreviations.
It's okay, it's okay. I'm getting there though. I'm getting there, yeah.
And then there's obviously the bursary element. And my colleague Mofota also touched on employability post you completing your qualification, right? So how we found job shadowing to be beneficial is you have a kid who goes to Mazibumbane Senior Secondary School in Katleho. Mm-hmm. And this is the world that they are exposed to. But they are smart, and they want to be an actuary someday, or they want to be a chartered accountant. What corporate is now starting to do is to introduce these kids into the working world. So you wake up in the morning, you dress up, you walk into Old Mutual, and you get to sit with people who actually do the work. You get to sit with actuaries, sit with them in meetings, provided you've signed an NDA. But the whole idea is to expose you to what the working world is like. And what we found is it opens up these kids' mind. Because when you're just reading a pamphlet from some university, you're thinking this thing is huge. But when you actually walk into the company, it becomes more tangible, it becomes more real. But it also opens up your mind to want to actually qualify, right? And the second piece to that is obviously VAC work. And this is where we usually target your third year students as well as honor students. They come in and instead of just reading about a specific programming tool, they actually sit with actuaries and they show them how to use that tool. And what a lot of young people don't know is that you can actually take some of this experience and put it on your CV, which then increases your chances of being employed. And then we've got the second piece, which is obviously the bursary. So at Old Mutual Insure, we are actually about to launch our first ever actuarial bursary program.
Really?
Yes. So we are launching it this year. We are looking to fund 3 honor students, and a lot of the detail is going to follow.
I hope you invite us.
Yeah, we might just invite you.
Thank you. I'll take that as a yes.
And what we're really trying to do here is to address, I spoke about a skill short market. We are trying to get a lot of the young people interested in actuarial science, but we're also saying we don't just expect you to study, we will actually give you employment after sponsoring your study. So this is everything. We give you a laptop, a meal allowance. Basically, we make it easy for you to actually want to pursue this and work hard at it because it is a difficult degree, right? So like I said, more details will follow. But then when these young people have completed their honors and they've got, the right exams and they've passed the right modules, we then say, okay, annually, we are looking to secure a cohort of actuarial grads who will start working with us on a permanent basis. And to the 15-year-old sitting out there, actuaries make a lot of money, even in the first job.
Sure. But now, what if you don't really want to be within the actuary space? You are qualified. I know you said you also went through the various pathways to get there.
Yeah.
Are there opportunities for other older people? Maturer that want to pivot,
So maybe to answer that question that you asked, the only way to get into Old Mutual is not through a bursary program. We do have our careers page where other grads, we don't just cover actuarial science. We are a business, so we hire lawyers, we hire tech people, we hire almost everyone, right? Engineers in the entire business cycle. So you go onto our careers page, so it's probably www.oldmutual.com/careers, and you surf our site and you look at all the opportunities. And I think what we have now is, through an API with LinkedIn, is you can actually look at some of our roles, and if there isn't anything for you, you can say, I'm interested in the organization. Yeah. So what that says to people like Tseho is, hey, Lebo was actually on the site. She couldn't find anything that she likes, but she's interested in working, whatever age, So, and I like the whatever, as old as I am, because we are a multiple generation organization. I think what we have in the workplace now is 5 generations. We have from boomers to Gen Z. So that's been very interesting for our culture. So everyone is welcome.
Let's talk about the importance of your role when it comes to learning and development, especially with someone that's coming in having a specific skill set that is not necessarily finance driven. How do you familiarize themselves within the organization?
So we're very intentional about partnering with our employees, both graduates or experienced hires. So we do have learning and development experiences that will help them unleash their fullest potential. And one of the ways in which we achieve this is through our philosophy. Our philosophy is 70-20-10 principle or philosophy. What that philosophy means, it means that 70% of learning happens in the flow of work. And 20% of learning is you're learning from other people that have walked the journey before you have, through mentorship, coaching, stretch assignment, you name it. And 10% is where formal learning is provided to employees. So what does that look like? It ranges from bursary programs to partnering with our digital learning partner, Udemy, and creating Udemy learning pods there, specific to the skills that are important in our organization right now, and that will help us propel as a business that people will need to enhance on or empower themselves on. So those are the support structures that we offer to our employees. Both from, like I said, grads to experienced hires.
Mafuta, let's talk about the bursaries. Besides actuary and the bursaries that Tseho has really talked about, and the new one that they're launching soon, what other bursaries are there in terms of opportunities and programs for other students?
We've got more than bursaries. We actually have what we call the early careers universe. So we've got learnerships.
Really?
Yes. We've got internships. There's actually a difference. I think I learned that, like about 5 years ago. We also have, in Old Mutual, we're not just in South Africa. We have operations in Zimbabwe. So we've got grad programs, we've got actuarial science bursaries there. We've got in Namibia, we've got accounting bursaries. We also have hackathons that our tech team runs. So essentially what that does is they call in like the top tech minds in the country at university. They ask them to come and solve real life problems that Old Mutual has. They sit in a room and they compete. I think the last prize, and please correct me guys, was 100,000 or something like that. Then we have East Africa. East Africa is actually coming for us like really hard and fast. I don't know if you've noticed, but East Africa is the most tech savvy, as far as I'm concerned, region in Africa. So Rwanda, Kenya, they're really already doing AI, they're doing big data, and all these skills that are defined as future skills by the World Economic Forum. They're already there. So it's an entire universe. I think we have, for young people, about 26 different types of programs that people can come into outside just, the sales academy for insurance. Somebody qualifies, they don't necessarily...
a sales academy?
We have a sales academy for insurance people. You don't need to have studied insurance in high school. You don't need to have studied certain things. But if you have a passion for it, Tseho talked about what actuaries do and how you can shadow them. The sales academy also just juices you up and says, this is what you need to understand how to sell a product. This is what you need to be able to price a product. This is what you need to be able to do to be a fully fledged sales advisor.
Interesting, you're talking about you having a sales academy. So what if you have someone who is the highest salesperson and selling cars and they want to pivot? Obviously, they have the skill set to do it. Can they do it? Are there opportunities? Or do you have to have studied accounting, finance, maths, and all sorts before you can get to that department?
They can absolutely pivot. I think it is the world is your oyster within Old Mutual. There are a lot of career paths that are available to everyone. And I'm saying to everyone because we align to your aspirations. What are your aspirations and how, for instance, things like the Sales Academy that my colleague Mufuta has highlighted is going to provide you with the right foundational skills that you need in order for you to pivot into selling the Old Mutual products. So the opportunities are absolutely there. They are endless, and it is possible for anyone to pivot from whatever career stream
I'm interested.
into Old Mutual.
What is the craziest pivot story you guys have ever heard? Someone came and they come from X, and then they obviously it has to be a success story.
I definitely know someone who has pivoted from being an engineer into coming into Old Mutual to become a strategy manager, and boy, has he been successful.
Is that a pivot?
Is it?
Engineer, it's like a brain, and then
so you do engineering. You come up with. You obviously have to solve problems,
right?
And then you come and
it's a pivot. Pivot is I was studying communications,
right?
And maybe I want to get into actuary.
Oh, okay.
What are the possibilities? That's a crazy pivot.
That actually is an example. Isn't Teliwe one of the key examples? Because I think she studied, was it not chemical engineering or something?
Yes.
And now she's like the big boss for people and strategy. It's a people's business. So you move from engineering, which is considered to be more technical, a brainy subject, and now she's on the people side. And she's a powerhouse of notes.
That is a pivot.
I suppose that is a pivot. I'm still just like, engineer. No, guys.
You're not quite convinced.
No, engineer. I mean, you can do anything if you have an engineer degree. Okay, but let's stay there then. Let's talk about, obviously, a young adult or our generation. Can they pivot and become actuaries? Or do you need to have certain degree to get into it? Can someone who studied genetics, for example, or are there particular degrees that you guys say, okay, yes, this aligns, this does not align? Obviously, if you're a former broadcaster, that's also that's obviously a no already.
I suppose even for me, I mean, they can award me an honorary FASA, and then I can become by virtue of the fact that I work with actuaries. But yes, you can pivot. It is important that I qualify that statement in a way that it makes sense to a teenager, right? So earlier on, I alluded to what actuaries do, and I spoke about mathematics and statistics. I also touched on modeling, that they model deals, they model transactions, they model products, or they model solutions out of raw data. If you have studied anything that is similar to that, so the maths and stats field, even engineering. So now we're talking the STEM field, data science as well. This is where they would teach you these core foundation skills. Then you can translate that into actually becoming an actuary. We have an example in the business where this gentleman, his background is industrial engineering, and then he moved into data. But because he operates in an area where he works with actuaries, he's now part of the actuarial job family because he's able to translate his skill set to actually help actuaries make sense of large data sets. He's got the capability. So he might not necessarily be as strong in numbers as an actuary, but he does understand big data, he understands modeling of transactions, and he does get the maths and stats element around all of this.
All right.
Interesting thing as well is I think he can actually use his undergraduate degree and write the Actuarial Society exams, right, to qualify as an actuary. So you don't necessarily need an actuarial science undergraduate degree. You could have, majored in data and statistics and then write the exams and qualify. And become an actuary.
And based on what Mofuta just said, so I'm just going to ride the wave.
Do that.
So Mofuta mentions the Actuarial Society. So in any industry, you will have a body an industry body that governs what happens
Yes,
there, right?
yes,
So
yes.
the CAs have got SICA, engineers have got, I think it's EXA or something. Yeah, I think it is EXA, Engineering Council of South Africa. Yes,
Yeah,
I am
yeah.
correct. So the actuaries have got the Actuarial Society of South Africa. So the path to becoming an actuary, if I'm allowed to touch on that, you would complete a 3-year undergraduate degree.
Yes.
Right? At one of the ASA accredited universities. And the reason why these universities have to be ASA accredited is so that you can write some of the exams that actually help you qualify as an actuary. And this is also the reason why it is such a difficult thing to qualify as an actuary, because of those tough exams. But then you've got ASA for all of those, learning modules. There's tutors, there's people that can actually support you. There are candidates who complete their undergraduate degree and they opt not to complete an honors degree, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You can still qualify as an actuary. However, one of the things that we look out for is candidates who've also completed an honors degree, which is a 1-year program. Because once you've got your postgrad, we know that as you enter corporate, you are then able to just focus on balancing the work and the actuarial exams. But then there's different levels to this, because you write your what we call technical exams. You then qualify as what we call TASA. So you're a technical actuary, basically.
Yeah.
Thereafter, the second step is for you to become an AMASA. At this point, you are actually allowed to call yourself an actuary, because all you need is work-based learning, where a qualified actuary walks the journey to say, this is how you become an actuary. So it combines everything. So the theory, the practical, because you're working at this point. And lastly, the last step would be FASA. This is where we can actually say, Chekho is an actuary of under ASA. So that's the final step. And that's why we go by the saying, it will end in FASA. So for anyone who wants to study actuarial science, the one thing that has to keep you going is the fact that it must end in FASA. That's when you become an actuary and earn the big bucks, the really big bucks.
Sure. And if you could give one piece of advice to someone who wants to start out a career within your sector, what would it be, Aza?
Oh, I think that's a great question, right? But I think for me is really, you don't have to have it figured out.
True.
I think...
especially the now world wants to have
It's
everything
okay.
figured out so quickly.
Yeah, it's absolutely okay to not have it figured
True.
out. I think for me is just start, remain curious, be open to learning and unlearning. And Mufuta has highlighted some of that, those concepts earlier. Unlearning, relearning in some cases, in order for you to show up as the best version of your brand. And yeah, just start.
Also
Just start.
taking a risk.
Take a risk.
Yeah.
Be innovative, challenge the status quo, have the mindset that will help you be affiliated with the likes of Old Mutual. We are looking for you.
I love that. You have to beat that.
We are looking for you. Look, I can never beat Aza. Aza is like the legend. I love what you said about, no pressure, be yourself. I think also let's get our parents' voices out of our heads.
Yes.
Right? Be yourself, be authentic to who you truly, truly are, right? And I think that then says, how do you then find your purpose? What do you find? How do you find what it is that you are, what it is that you're meant to be doing? And I think also another important thing is for young people is we live in a knowledge-based economy. You need to be academically prepared. And I say to the students that come or go through universities, your qualification actually isn't necessarily what you're going to be. So don't define yourself to a role. Skills are constantly evolving. And if you look at what's happening, the trends that are happening in the world is we're becoming skills-based organizations. So whatever skill is sought after, you might find that maybe it's not even studied now because marketing wasn't available. Maybe we didn't know about actuarial science back then. So don't be traditional and always tap into your environment, tap into what you know. I didn't want to talk about myself in terms of pivoting, but I studied marketing. I didn't know I'd end up in financial services. My first job was actually as an investment consultant. Why I left it, people are like, are you okay? But HR found me and I love this space. Yeah.
Now I really want to talk about you. What do you mean? Investment, what? And then HR, and then now?
Pivot. That's what you asked, right? So I studied marketing at Wits Tech. not even at like a prestigious UCT, blah, 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 but sorry, UCT, but, but I studied marketing. And I think the one thing that Azza said is I always wanted to say, what is this brand that I can build? I wanted to build brand Mofota. But I think what marketing gave me was the sales, which an investment banking, company needs, and also customer service. You can't drop the ball with people who are high net worth earners and wealthy, right?
Yes.
So they just wanted that communication, what you said. You're able to talk to your customers and sell the products, show them what the different options are, and build relationships. Then I was in investment banking. And then I don't know what happened, but HR found me, and here I am almost 20 years later. I'm
Wow.
aging myself. But yeah, it is
Sure.
about pivoting and unlearning and relearning and just doing you. Do you, boo.
Chikho, one piece of advice?
I'd say the young person out there needs to be well researched. They need to read a lot. And I know that that's probably the generation that reads in 140 characters, right? But
that's so painful.
Right. So you don't send them long texts. But read a lot. Click on the links. Try and find out what's happening in your world. And simplify the concepts for yourself. You don't necessarily have to receive a pamphlet with all this heavy jargon. Just look at your daily lifestyle. One company buys the next. Checkers buys ShopRite.
Yeah.
That's a merger and acquisition. An investment analyst will get involved. Your mom pays a certain amount for insurance. Your dad pays a certain amount for life cover. An actuary would have been involved. A marketing person would have been involved.
Yes.
So simplify the concepts for yourself. Be curious.
I love it. Now, we touched a little bit on how learners can get information. I just want us to clarify a little bit. Give me the details, resources that are available for learners, for career hunters out there. Where do they go? Is it uploaded regularly as well? Anyone can take this one. Azza, I'm throwing you under the bus on this one.
It definitely is on our website.
Yeah.
So if you go to Old Mutual, within the Old Mutual banner, there are various opportunities there. Whether it is experienced hires that are looking to change organization to come and join our organization. Again, we're looking for you. Or it is graduates that are looking for bursaries or graduate or learnerships.
Yeah.
They can absolutely find those on our website. And yeah, come and join us and help us create magic.
Why should someone join Old Mutual?
Great culture. Yeah. Great culture. I think a place where you belong. I talked about the fact that we have a multiple generation. We have boomers, we have Xers, myself, we have millennials, and we have Gen Z. All of us are able to bring our whole selves to work and collaborate and work effectively together. So we deliver together, understanding our individual strengths. So boomers are traditionalists and they're workers of note. Gen X is independent. Millennials are like the challengers, and Gen Z are the digital natives.
At least you know that
together.
These two, we couldn't go through that list.
We
Thank
couldn't.
you.
They challenged everything, right? So that's what I think for me, Old Mutual is truly about the culture. It's about having understanding, leadership, and really a vision. And Old Mutual is also, and you'll agree with me, it's a quiet and humble giant. 180 years old. We never really just shout about all the things that we do like our competitors do. And if we would, but it's also that humility that's in the spirit and in the culture of what it is that we do.
What's your slogan again?
Doing great things every day.
Well, that's it. I have to leave it there. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. And I love the fact that there was so much pivoting just amongst the three of you. HR, completely different industries. Now you're leading sectors within Old Mutual Group, or Old Mutual itself. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise and for telling the people out there that you're waiting for them, ne?
Yes, we are.
All right. Well, thank you. That's it for today. For now, we'll catch up with you guys in the next podcast as we continue to give you information galore, how to upskill yourself and exactly where you need to be in order to be hired. Right here on the Career Launch Network SA podcast. Stay with us.